It's one difference I've heard in the manga. See, I've mostly watched the anime. I've read parts of the manga, but in the manga, it's not so public. The whole Kira versus L. There's a lot in the anime. It's very media based. There's a lot of back and forth in the media debating whether who's right and wrong. It's not so secret as it is in the manga. And if you're like me and you like to predict something, predict events that are going to happen, I'm gonna say go ahead and try it with Death Note, but it is hard. Like, and this is for someone who's really good at depicting what's gonna happen. There were like maybe one or two things I saw coming, but it is really hard to figure out what's gonna happen in this series. Like Bleach, I was able to predict Bleach's plot all the way up to this Hell arc that's going on now from the end of Soul Society. But no, from the second that Hell was introduced in the Parakeet arc, I knew they're gonna go to Hell someday. I knew it. I know a lot of the stuff. Bleach is extremely predictable. This is nothing like that. The only thing that I can say is this is like Bleach is the fact that Shinigami and Mello and Shinji look a lot alike. That's personally what I think. Um, One thing I find interesting is there's a lot of Christian undertones in this series. For example, the biggest one would be Lucifer and Light. Like, Lucifer is an angel that becomes the devil. You know, anyone who knows the story of Lucifer knows he's the angel, becomes the devil, because he basically does what Light's been doing and just tortures people in heaven. And so God made his own place for him to torture bad people. And L is a lot like Lucifer. In fact, Lucifer actually means bringer of light or light bringer in Latin. And you know what's really odd about this series is it's not very often that the main character is the villain. And when you first start getting into it, you're probably going to be thinking, "Oh, well, he could be the protagonist." No, he's not. You'll realize that by, I don't know, like chapter 8, or it was episode 8 at least for me, that I was like, yeah, he is definitely the villain. Actually, I thought he was the villain beforehand, but that's the one that, like, there's no doubt about it. By episode 8, Light's the villain, and the Side of L is the hero. Um, Now, spoiler alert, so if you're not wanting any spoilers, just go, uh, go watch the rest of Death Note and then come back. But, the part where L dies really gets to people. And it's it's a really big turning point in the series because up till then there had been two big things. There was the whole Light losing his memories thing going on, but the second Light gets him back, I knew L was in trouble and I couldn't see him living much longer. I did predict his death. I didn't predict it as soon as it happened. I did not think the Shinigami that killed him killed him. I always figured it would just be Light because it was always L versus Light, you know. But then again, it was Light because he put the Shinigami in a position where she had to kill him or he would end up hurting Misa. And then after Light dies, it's like, I think 5 years later, I could be wrong. There's a time skip, and these new successors of Lights come in. I mean, of L's come in. Mello and Nier. Ironically, Nier is as far away from people as possible. He just does not communicate well with others. Nier is not close to anybody. And Mello is really hyperactive. He is not Mello. It's just his name's Mello. And out of these three detectives, L, Nier, and Mello, which one's your favorite? Now, most people are going to be surprised because mine is actually Mello. I think Mello. What I like about Mello was, well, the whole chocolate thing. I don't know what it was. It was just something kind of cool, and he was the biggest risk taker of all the three detectives. Now, granted, L was the best medium, and since Nier and Mello are supposed to be a divided version of just L, but what I liked about Mello was he was the risk taker. Nier, you can say Nier solved the Kira case, but I'm sorry, he would never have gotten anywhere if it wasn't for Mello, and everyone knows it too. Mello was getting somewhere, but he was losing something every time. First, he was losing people in his little group to help find Kira, and then he gets like half his face burnt off because of the whole Kira case. So, yeah, uh, Mello is definitely my favorite of the detectives. And then, I mean, and another thing about the Death Note series is it makes everything seem epic. There's a parts where while he's writing in his desk, he's doing all this swishy arm motions, and they're like drawing it in from different pannings and zoom angles, and he's writing all these names down, and it's got an epic opera line going on. And well, here I'll show you a very famous clip from the show that proves that it makes everything seem more epic than it is.
Just watch me, L. I'll solve equations with my right hand and write names with my left. I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
So, as you can see, even the simple act of eating a potato chip can seem epic in the show sometimes. And the show really doesn't leave very many loose ends. Everything is explained. There's no plot holes as far as I can see. The only thing that I felt was lacking in the story was the fact that we don't get to know very much about the Shinigami world itself. As far as we know, it's just this dark, damp place above the clouds or whatever. We don't actually really get to see very much of the Shinigami world, except for the few Shinigamis that actually come to the story, which would just be Ryuk and Rem and Sinnoh. And I wanted to see more of Sinnoh, but he left pretty early. Well, that's my review of Death Note. If you guys want me to review a certain part of Death Note or whatever, I'll be willing to explain it more in depth. But this is Lord of the Flames 1000 signing out.